Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a thriller movie called What You Wish For. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with an American chef named Ryan Mosley, who has just arrived in Colombia. As he exits the airport, he receives a call from someone named Rabbit, urging him to call back ASAP. It turns out Ryan has a gambling problem which has left him in serious debt. He has no means of repaying it, so he fled the country and arrived here to meet his friend Jack, whom he hasn't seen in 12 years. Shortly after, Ryan is picked up by a butler and driven to his destination. On the way, the butler hands him a note from Jack, which states that he's currently out for work, but he provides the house code for entry and asks Ryan to be comfortable. After a while, they arrive at a luxurious villa in the middle of the forest, and Ryan is astounded by the setting. He explores the house, finds some food in the fridge, and makes a meal. After eating, he sits by the pool and admires the beautiful view. A few hours later, Jack returns home and the friends embrace joyfully. It turns out Jack is also a chef, and the two went to culinary school together when they were younger. Ryan then admits to drinking some expensive wine he found, but Jack clarifies that it doesn't belong to him. He explains that his agency has rented the entire villa for a week, so they can host a dinner party on the final day. Jack's work is to prepare all the meals, and he has full control over the villa until then. He also reveals that after completing the gig, he'll return to his home in London, but then he'll be assigned the next gig, which will take him to another city in another part of the world. Ryan feels envious upon hearing this, and wishes that he also had such a cool job. The next day, the two friends go exploring the town, which is rural and underdeveloped. They then stop by a cafe to eat, where they meet a beautiful woman named Alice. She reveals that she's solo traveling the world after managing to save some money. She then assumes that the two men are a couple, but they quickly clarify that they're reconnecting after 12 years. When Alice discovers that both are chefs, she wonders who's the better cook. Jack responds by inviting her to his home so she can find out for herself. In the evening, we see the two men preparing their own versions of risotto for her. Alice is then blindfolded and carefully tastes the dishes. Though she is impressed by both of their skills, she leans slightly towards Ryan's dish. This makes him overjoyed, and he jokingly brags to his friend about being the better chef. The trio then proceeds to the pool, where they drink and have a great time. During this, Alice and Jack begin flirting, and they eventually spend the night together. The next morning, Ryan receives another text from Rabbit, who threatens that he only has 3 days left to pay the money. This puts Ryan under a lot of pressure, as he realizes that his family's life might be in danger. Shortly after, he exits the room and learns that Alice has already left. Jack also departs for work, leaving Ryan all alone in this luxurious villa. As the hours pass, he becomes increasingly worried about his situation and starts snooping around the house. He eventually finds Jack's laptop, which has his bank details logged in. To Ryan's shock, he discovers that his friend has a whopping £1.7 million stashed in his UK-based account. When Jack arrives at home that night, he appears visibly upset. The two friends sit by the pool, and Jack admits that he's frustrated with the selfishness and greediness of rich people. He also reveals that a part of his job involves screwing over poor people. This has taken a toll on him, and he wishes to go home. Ryan doesn't understand what's going on, but he senses that Jack's life is not as perfect as it seems. The scene then cuts to the morning, where Ryan wakes up from a comfortable sleep. However, when he walks past the corridor, he is shocked to witness his friend's lifeless body hanging by the ceiling. Turns out Jack couldn't bear the pain any longer, so he committed the unthinkable. A distraught Ryan is left speechless by the sight and drops to the floor, but soon afterward he regains his composure, as the situation could be a blessing in disguise for him. He then comes up with a cunning plan to assume his dead friend's identity and steal all of his money. Ryan gets straight to work and calls Jack's bank to have the password changed. He claims that he recently got into an accident and doesn't remember anything. Ryan makes it clear that he's in no condition to answer the security questions either. Expectedly, the bank representative smells something fishy and refuses to change the password. She instead asks him to visit their branch in London with proper identification. At the same time, Rabbit sends him another text, threatening to kill his mother if he doesn't send $50,000 right away. In the evening, Ryan wraps Jack's body in plastic and dumps it into a nearby lake. The next day, he calls a friend in the US and asks for financial help, but his friend assumes it's for gambling and hangs up on him. Later that afternoon, Ryan Ryan heads to town for lunch. When he returns, he is surprised to find two unfamiliar people at the villa. They are actually from the agency Jack was working for. The head of operations is a beautiful but cunning woman named Imogen, while the handyman is Maurice. Ryan is taken aback to see them, but he soon realizes that they haven't met Jack in person, so he assumes his friend's identity and engages in conversation with them. Ryan inquires about the payment, claiming that he forgot the exact amount. When Imogen reveals that it is £300,000, he is left shell-shocked. He immediately asks for an advance, and Imogen transfers him £50,000 without hesitation. Ryan then sends the amount to Rabbit, thus ending his debt problem. Now that he's out of danger, he carefully tries to learn more about the dinner. He starts asking random questions which mostly make no sense. This irritates Imogen, as he should have been well versed about the details by now. Nonetheless, she reveals that the dinner is for 5 people and will consist of 4 courses. She then inquires if he has vetted the meat, but Ryan responds in the negative. He claims that due to his poor Spanish, he couldn't communicate with the locals. This expectedly enrages Imogen, as the dinner is tomorrow and the preparations haven't even started yet. However, Ryan promises that he will get everything ready in time. Later, Imogen takes him to the town to search for their so-called produce. They soon arrive in front of a church where she explains that today is crowded, so he must return tomorrow and find 2 bodies. Upon hearing this, it finally dawns on Ryan that the main ingredient is human flesh. He hesitates to commit the deed, but Imogen insists that he knew everything beforehand, and now he can't back out. She also warns that if he doesn't comply, it will be the end of his life. Later that night, Ryan packs his belongings and prepares to leave. However, he is soon stopped by Imogen, who explains that their clients pay $1.5 million per person for each dinner. She reveals that they kill an average of 75 people per year and earn more than $100 million, of which 10% is donated to the community. She justifies their actions by comparing the deaths to those in other industries, like oil drilling and farming, where people die regularly. After saying this, Imogen also warns him that no matter where he goes, they will find him. The following morning, Ryan and Maurice go to the church to pick out their victims. They choose a young woman and her grandmother and begin following them around town. After a while, the women vanish, so they step out of the car and start looking for them. A young man named Jose notices them and asks if they're looking for someone. Seeing his chubby body, Maurice decides to make him their victim. He pretends that his car broke down and asks for help in repairing it. He also offers a good compensation, and this entices the man. But as soon as Jose gets under the car, Maurice fatally shoots him in the head. The two then proceed to load the body, but a cop named Gallo suddenly arrives with the 2 women from before. He doesn't notice the corpse beneath the car and questions why they were following the women. Maurice quickly fabricates a story saying they're architects, planning to build a hotel in the area. He also makes it clear that they weren't following anyone and were simply checking out the location. He then hands out his business card to prove his identity as an architect. Officer Gallo seems to be satisfied by this, and he leaves with the women. Afterward, the 2 men load up the body and drive away. They soon arrive at the villa, and Maurice explains that since the cops are involved, they'll have to make do with this one. Imogen notices that the victim is quite bulky, so she doesn't mind. She then takes Ryan to the slaughterhouse and orders him to cut up Jose. She also informs them that there's a special request for tongue and asks him to prepare it as dessert. In the evening, all of the VIPs arrive at the villa, excited for their big dining experience. But just when everything's going well, Officer Gallo shows up with another detective named Ruiz. They are looking for Ruiz's nephew, Jose, who has been missing since the morning. Imogen greets them and pretends to be the manager of a real estate firm, while Ryan claims to be an architect. Ruiz then brings out a picture of his nephew and asks Ryan if he's seen him. This is because our hero was seen wandering around the village earlier today. However, Ryan claims that he has never seen the man before. He then resumes his cooking duties, saying he is busy at the moment. Afterward, Imogen secretly informs her guests that the police are here and they must pretend to be investors. The VIPs happily oblige, and it seems that they've already prepared for such a situation. They then confidently answer all of the questions thrown by the detectives. But just as Ruiz and Gallo are about to leave, a Japanese VIP invites them for dinner. The officers agree, but Imogen is freaked out by the situation. She speaks with the client privately and asks why he would make the cops stay. The VIP responds by saying that the threat of being caught makes the experience even more fun. Given the fact that he is a regular and a wealthy client, Imogen reluctantly agrees with him. Shortly after, Ryan begins serving food to the guests, and they absolutely love it. Officer Gallo soon gets tired and leaves for home, while Ruiz stays behind and chats with the guests. He is impressed by the taste of the meat, but can't figure out what it is. When he asks about it, Ryan nervously lies and claims that it's pork, which isn't even a lie. Jose is related to a cop. Later, the situation worsens when Alice arrives at the villa. She appears to be drunk and wants to see Jack, probably to have coitus with him again. Imogen urges her to go away, saying they are in the middle of something important, but Alice isn't going to budge. Left with no options, Imogen takes her to the kitchen, where Ryan is currently working. Alice is surprised to hear him being referred to as Jack, but doesn't say anything for the moment. After Imogen leaves, she asks what's going on, to which Ryan explains that he's just filling in for his friend. Alice smells something fishy, so she tries asking more questions, but he says he's busy and tells her to leave. Ryan's cold behavior upsets Alice, and she proceeds to walk out. On the way, she notices a pot filled with liquid and suspects that it might be human blood. This makes her really scared, and she promptly returns to her car. However, Alice is unable to start the vehicle, which leaves her frustrated. At this moment, Maurice shows up and prevents her from leaving. He asks her to stay for a while and promises to drop her off at the hotel. Alice is freaking out at this point, but she has no choice but to comply. Back in the kitchen, Ryan brings out Jose's tongue to prepare the dessert, but he soon realizes that it has been infected with herpes. Upon learning of this, Imogen starts to panic because one of the clients specifically requested a tongue. Ryan says he will prepare another dessert, but Imogen asserts that they need a tongue. At this point, the stupid Alice appears once again, saying she doesn't want to bother Maurice and will book a taxi herself. An annoyed Imogen asks if there's no one to pick her up, to which Alice responds that she's a tourist here. Realizing that the woman is alone, Imogen comes up with an evil idea. After a while, Ryan serves the tongue dessert to all the guests, but he can't handle the situation anymore, so he secretly leaves a note under Ruiz's plate asking him to meet him in the bathroom. The detective complies and heads to the bathroom, where Ryan explains the entire scenario to him. He reveals that these people are cannibals, and the dish that they were eating is actually Jose. Ruiz is so disgusted by the revelation that he begins to vomit, but he soon gathers his composure and returns to the VIPs. He thanks them for their lovely hospitality and departs from there, but instead of exiting the villa, he meets Ryan at the slaughterhouse. Ruiz then sees the remains of his nephew, which makes him almost puke again. He also spots a dead Alice lying on the ground with her tongue cut out. Realizing that these people are dangerous, Ruiz attempts to call for backup, but realizes that he has left his phone in the villa since he has already said his goodbyes. Ryan decides to retrieve it instead. He asks the officer to stay here and promises to return soon. Back at the villa, all the guests are extremely satisfied with the food and begin to depart. When Ryan crosses paths with them, they shower him with praise. One of the guests even mentions that he's already reserved a seat at the next dinner. Unfortunately, Maurice discovers that Ruiz has infiltrated the slaughterhouse, so he immediately attacks him with a chainsaw and kills him. When Ryan finally returns with the phone, he's horrified to see the mutilated remains of Ruiz. But since Maurice is unaware of his betrayal, he decides to remain silent. The following morning, an exhausted Ryan wakes up and joins Maurice and Imogen for breakfast. They congratulate him on his excellent work, and Imogen says he'll be their chef for many more dinners. Ryan is then paid the remaining £250,000 and informed that his next job is in Africa after a month. Maurice even installs a GPS tracker on him to ensure he doesn't run away. When asked about his plans, Ryan says he'll return to London and rest. The movie ends with Ryan heading to the airport, realizing that he'll never be able to escape the evil agency. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.